Now at 10 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, despite a court records mix-up and cyber attack, the Amanda Johnson murder case is going to trial.
An Army veteran's passion for motorcycles lives on, now as a powerful tribute to his life, love, and fellow veterans.
Plus, the Texas Senate passes two controversial bills that bring religion into public schools, sparking debate over moral values versus religious freedom.
Well, the winds have settled down at this hour of the night. That's good, but they're still out of the northwest and they're very dry. Our humidities are way down at the 20 to 10%. So I do believe we'll still have some fire danger over the weekend, but other than that, it's going to be fairly nice. We'll talk about that coming up in a moment.
And tomorrow night we begin the women's and men's soccer playoffs across the crossroads. We'll highlight all the games coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Shawna Currie.
And I'm Don Brubaker.
Well, fire risk is high this week, so it's time to check in on our weather.
So let's go to Mac Pettis with a first look at the forecast. And Mac, you also have an update on a fire in the crossroads. Is that right?
Yes, as a matter of fact, at about 8:30, we noticed that there is a fire being reported by the Texas Forest Service near Sarco, which is about 9 miles south of Goliad. That's in Goliad County. 200 acres are burning, and it's only 20% contained. If you're in that area, please let us know any information you have. Text it to us or email it to us here in the station. Right now, the winds continue to be out of the northwest, but they have settled down, and that helps everything out. So we're going to be watching because these humidity levels are really off the charts. Normally we're in the 60, 70% category because we're so close to the water, but look at that. We're down in less than 20%, less than 10% in some spots. The red flag warning has been lowered for tonight, but I believe it'll be raised again tomorrow. We'll talk about that coming up a little bit later on. Back to you, Don.
Mm-hmm. And we also have an update now on the fire in Goliad. Is that right?
They just updated it to 40% contained, so they are gaining ground on it, which is good news.
All right, very good, yes. And speaking of burn bans in counties.
Yeah, Calhoun County is now under a burn ban, and due to that burn ban being in place and limited holding space, the Olivia Hatterius Park brush pile will be temporarily closed until further notice. No outdoor burning is allowed in Calhoun County until county commissioners rescind the ban.
Wildfires burning in San Jacinto County north of Houston. Fire crews fighting the blaze say it was 0% contained as of Wednesday evening. Local officials said at least 700 acres have burned. Crews are dropping water from helicopters in the Sam Houston National Forest area. Officials said only a few structures had been impacted by the blaze. More than a dozen people had to evacuate the area. Nearly 4 years after Amanda Johnson was found dead in her burned SUV, the case against her accused killer is headed to trial. Fernando Acosta Jr. was set for a pre-trial hearing today, but it actually happened last month. A cyber attack left court records outdated, but the district attorney says it did not impact the case. Johnson, a single mother of two, was reported missing on April 17, 2021, and found the next day in rural Matagorda County. After multiple delays, Acosta's trial is officially set to begin on Monday, April 7th.
A U.S. Marshals task force tracked down a fugitive in Victoria, leading to a chaotic series of arrests. Officers were watching a home on Aladar Street when they spotted 5 people leaving in a black car. They followed the car to Surfing Crab restaurant, where the suspects went inside. Inside the restaurant, officers arrested Joel Tambriz, wanted in Arlington for a fatal hit and run. He tried to run from law enforcement from a freezer, but was caught after being tased and bitten by a canine. 3 other people were also arrested, including one man who fled in the car but was later stopped at Walmart. Charges range from evading arrest to assaulting an officer. At least 3 suspects are from Guatemala and in the country illegally. The Texas Senate passes 2 bills pushing religion into public schools. One requires classrooms to display the 10 Commandments, while the other sets aside time for student prayer. Supporters say it promotes moral values, but critics argue that it favors Christianity and threatens religious freedom. Republican lawmakers cite court rulings backing their case, while opponents, including faith leaders, warn it could divide communities. So this brings us to our viewer poll today. Do Senate Bills 10 and 11 promote religious freedom or violate it? We want to hear from you. Visit crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part. And pretty close here, 59 to 41%, but promotes religious freedom is still leading in the opinion of our voters. So thank you to everyone who voted, and you still are able to participate by going to Crossroads Today.
President Trump plans to sign an executive order Thursday to shut down the Department of Education, aiming to shift control back to the states. A White House event is expected to unveil the order, which ensures key programs like Title I, student loans, and disability services remain intact. While Trump calls the department wasteful, fully dismantling it would require Congress. A fact sheet says remaining funds cannot be used for DEI or gender ideology initiatives. A South Texas Army veteran who served during the era of the Vietnam War is honoring his fellow service members. Daniel Meza has transformed his home in Corpus Christi into a testament to those lost along the way.
Michelle Hoffman has more from Corpus Christi.
This is my way of expressing myself.
Daniel Mesa's home is a roadmap of his life. Even his garage is filled with the treasures of his journey.
You joined the Army?
Yeah, Vietnam era.
From his military experiences.
I went in when I was 17. We all served for honor and, for God and country. That's what we served.
To his unstoppable passion for riding motorcycles.
I used to watch a lot of Hell's Angel movies back in the day. They would come out on TV all the time, and I would see all those motorcycles. And I said, man, when I grow up, I'm going to buy me a motorcycle and have my own club,
And that's exactly what he did. Mesa built a collection of bikes, each one a piece of his story.
My son did that with an airbrush.
But like a motorcycle that must slow down with age, he made the most difficult decision to sell most of them when his health took a turn.
Man, it hurt because I've rode since I was 15 years old.
But even as life took away that passion, it couldn't steal his drive. He found new roads to travel, a new purpose to ride towards. Mesa turned the proceeds from selling his motorcycles into a legacy, creating this remarkable yard display.
Looks beautiful. You said this cost
Like $21,000 with delivery.
The statues here honor the people and moments that mean most to him. In this garden of remembrance, there's even a sculpture dedicated to his wife, a woman who's been his co-pilot in life.
Next month I'll have 49 years of a good marriage. She's a good woman. I'd marry her all over again if I could,
I just love hearing that. That's so beautiful.
He even plans to have their ashes buried there side by side at the end of their ride together. But this display isn't just about him. It's a tribute to all veterans, a reminder that their sacrifices should never be forgotten.
I have friends that didn't make it back from Vietnam. I felt like I had to do it, to show respect and honor my fellow veterans.
Mr. Meza says his display is open to the public.
A Texas woman who hit an $83.5 million jackpot might not see a dime. The Texas Rangers are investigating her win. Her attorney says the Texas Lottery Commission will not decide on the payout until the investigation wraps up. She insists she won fair and square and deserves her money. The ticket was bought through an app that lets you purchase lottery tickets and scratch-offs on your phone.
The Salvation Army of Victoria got a major donation from a local church. First United Methodist Church of Victoria donated $1,500 from their annual pumpkin patch. One of the church's board members heard about the great work the Salvation Army does. It's the first time the pumpkin patch has made a donation to the Salvation Army. They donated around $16,000 to 11 Victoria County nonprofit organizations after last year's pumpkin patch. Anyone who requested money got money from the pumpkin patch. The First United Methodist Church has hosted the pumpkin patch for 32 years. The pumpkins are raised by the Navajo Nation in New Mexico. The church also donates pumpkins to the Texas Zoo and to area farmers.
Here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave. Traffic at the Port of Port Lavaca Point Comfort increased in February. And Calhoun County Area Go Texan won Quilt Awards at the Houston Livestock Show. You can read these stories and more at portlavacawave.com. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell to receive alerts when new videos are posted to our YouTube channel. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10. More than 6 decades after JFK's death, thousands of new documents are pulling back the curtain on CIA operations and what they knew about Lee Harvey Oswald.
Also ahead, a weight loss and diabetes drug is now linked to lower rates of infections, cancers, and addiction. But experts warn more research is needed. Now to the JFK assassination files released last night. More than 60,000 pages.
The documents shedding new light on surveillance during that era and on what some in the Kennedy administration felt about the CIA. Here's Terry Moran.
Tonight, more than 6 decades after President John F. Kennedy's assassination, more than 63,000 pages of unredacted files long held secret are now public. Historians, amateur sleuths, and online conspiracy theorists poring over the files all day today. That day in Dallas haunting the country for 62 years. But so far in these new documents, no new bombshells.
It really isn't that much new, at least in the part that we have examined so far. But we have learned quite a bit about the CIA.
Instead, new details and descriptions of tradecraft in the CIA at the time. Some of its operations in embassies around the world, from Mexico to France to Iran, and its surveillance previously revealed of Oswald, Kennedy's assassin. One of the files long sought by investigators, the Schlesinger memo, revealed that some of Kennedy's closest aides did not trust the CIA and were discussing reforms to it. Another file pulled back the curtain on some CIA operations. The organization was tapping Soviet and Cuban telephones at their diplomatic facilities in Mexico City, locations Lee Harvey Oswald visited in the months before the assassination. The documents shedding light on what some say are the agency's failures, including catching Oswald before the president was killed.
If they had done their jobs properly and shared information with one another, President Kennedy probably would have served 2 full terms as president.
This latest document drop is the fulfillment of a promise from President Trump, who signed an executive order to have all the documents released without redactions, and there are still 20,000 more documents yet to come. Terry Moran, ABC News, Washington.
Ford is recalling. Yes, I said recalling more than 50,000 vehicles for incorrect repairs. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says there were 4 prior recalls for camera, battery, and window issues, but the vehicles were not fixed properly. 7 models are part of the recall, including the Explorer, Edge, Lincoln, Bronco Sport, Maverick, F-250, and F-350 vehicles. 2 recalls involve rear view cameras that may be blank or distorted. Another recall involves a module failing to alert drivers about a low battery. The 4th recall covers windows that don't retract when blocked by an obstacle like a finger. Owner notifications are expected to be mailed April 24th.
Promising news for people at high risk of Alzheimer's. A new study shows an amyloid-lowering drug may delay onset. The long-term study followed a small group over 17 years. 22 participants cut their risk of symptoms in half, though others did not, and scientists don't know why. The study focused on people with rare genetic mutations that almost guarantee they'll develop Alzheimer's. Researchers say their NIH grant may not be renewed, putting the study's future in jeopardy.
More people are reporting positive results from using popular diabetes and weight loss drugs like Wegovy and Ozempic.
And now some surprising new benefits are emerging. With more, here's ABC's Melissa Adon.
A new analysis suggests that people who have a GLP-1 medication have lower rates of infections, blood clots, and even some cancers compared to people who are on similar diabetes and weight loss treatments. GLP-1s were also linked to reduced rates of substance use disorders, including alcohol, cannabis, opioids, and stimulants. This is encouraging for those managing their diabetes alongside multiple other health conditions. These drugs do come with potential side effects such as stomach issues like nausea and vomiting, as well as more serious risks like pancreatitis and arthritis. As the use of GLP-1 medications expands, ongoing research will be the key to understanding their full impact, both their benefits and risks. With this Medical Minute, I'm Melissa Adon.
Here's some of the top headlines you can read in the Cuero Record. DeWitt County Commissioners approve a land purchase in Yorktown to be used for a new building for the Precinct 2 Justice of the Peace. And the Cuero Lady Gobbler basketball team is honored by the Cuero City Council. You can read these stories and more at DeWittCountyToday.com. High winds grounded planes looking to help fight fires in Oklahoma as the wildfire risk in that state continues. Gusts were as high as 70 miles an hour Tuesday night into Wednesday. Officials say that means any potential new fires will have to be handled without using air support, like so-called super scooper planes. But the Oklahoma Forestry Service says pilots are ready to be deployed once conditions grow more favorable. Wildfires that sparked on Friday killed 4 people and injured 200 across Oklahoma.
Well, good evening, everybody. We were talking about the weather and the winds and the humidity. It's all sort of factored into this fire season that we're having. 67 is our current temperature. The winds out of the north at 15 miles an hour. That's better than they were earlier, but they're still up, shall we say. 84 our high, 61 was the overnight low. We are looking for it to be a little cooler tonight, getting down to the 40s, but tomorrow it's a pretty day. Yes, lots of sun, low humidity, but fire danger is a problem. We'll talk more about that after this. Well, you probably noticed this morning that the winds turned around and became northerly and brought in very dry atmosphere into our region. This is, of course, desert air from Arizona all the way into our area or West Texas. And of course, we had a little bit of dust earlier today. That seems to settle down. Now, the front that came through is long gone, but this is all part of this monster storm that's producing all kinds of weather in the Midwest. Now, you can see snow as far south as Kansas and Nebraska, all the way up into the UP of Michigan. Ahead of it, we had thunderstorms that rolled through Chicago and through St. Louis and is now marching to the east. You see that in the yellow here, we have tornado watches up and warnings rather, and in the red we have the severe thunderstorms. I think we've clocked already about 19 different tornadoes that reported throughout Illinois. So it's going to be an interesting night for them. For us, we got, of course, the back end of it. We got the dry northwest winds, and the humidity levels are just, you just don't see this kind of stuff. Normally we're in the 60, 70%, maybe higher. Right now we're in the 22%, 10%, 52% in Beeville. This is amazingly dry air that rolls from the crossroads all the way out into northern Mexico. And down here, this green area, that means that Brownsville still has the moisture, all the humidity, but we don't. So we continue to be on the dry side. Now, the red flag warning was lowered. It was canceled for tonight. However, tomorrow, whether or not we get another one or a different one, which would be a fire weather watch, it all depends on how strong the winds are. The winds are going to be northeast tomorrow, so it'll be a beautiful day. Sunny skies, clear skies, low humidity, very pleasant, but the problem is, of course, the wind. We have wind advisories for the immediate coastline and, of course, for the small craft advisories. Now, the winds tomorrow will be northeast, and that's the beginning of Thursday. By the end of Thursday, they're going to turn around, and by Friday, they're going to be back up from the southeast. So that brings back the humidity. And I wish I could tell you it's going to be a light wind, but those winds are going to be strong by the time we get to Friday, the other direction. Here's what we have tonight. You can see it right about there. You can see the back end of the big low spinning around, and that low was, of course, the major weather maker. Out on the west coast, we have another frontal system. This one's going to come through here probably on Sunday night, but the chances for any rain are pretty slim. Right now, we're looking at a low tonight of 44. That's 20 degrees cooler than it was this morning. And our high tomorrow will get up to 74, which will make it very comfortable, very spring-like, of course, rather dusty and dry humidity, and that's kind of the problem. So we'll take a look at the big storm in the Midwest. That pulls away. That rolls eastward. It gives us clearing weather and then a return of the Gulf air by the time we get to the weekend. We'll watch and wait for that big next front coming in from the west. So tomorrow, a gorgeous day in Port Lavaca. You know, you want to go take pictures on a day like this. We're looking for northerly winds settling down. I mean, in the reasonable category as opposed to 30 and 40 miles an hour and getting up to only 72. In Cuero, you've got a beautiful sunny day looking right there. Northeasterly winds settling down and a high of about 72 as well. So we're going to be comfortable tomorrow. I have it as an alert day because of a very low humidity, 20%. So, and you heard us talk about the fire in Goliad near Sarko. That is something that we've got to watch for tomorrow, all right? Then we warm up, we get a south wind, we get up into the 80s as we get to the weekend, and we'll hope that that front on Sunday night brings us a drop or two, if possible. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that, put Crossroads Today on the phone, or your phone, or the cell phone. And we'll toss it over to Max with sports.
All right, thanks, Mac. After the break, we're going to look at Goliad High School, how they did there in the Goliad Tennis Invitational here the past 2 days. I'll tell you all that coming up in sports. Good evening here, Crossroads. And tomorrow we begin the women's and men's soccer playoffs here across the Crossroads. And again, by-district round play will begin. And again, we have a lot of matchups here to start with. But first, we're going to start with the girls. In 4A, the Calhoun Sandcrabs face the Needville Blue Jays. That game will be tomorrow night at 8 p.m. at Rice Consolidated. Then the Bay City Lady Cats, after finishing off a great regular season, will face Brazos Sport Exporters on Friday. That game's at 6 p.m. at Hopper Stadium there, being Freeport, Texas. Then Houtsville Lady Bremas are in the playoffs there versus the Columbia Roughnecks. That game will be tomorrow night, 6 p.m. at El Campo High School. And then speaking of El Campo, the Lady Birds will face the Sweeney Bulldogs tomorrow night at 5:30 at Bay City Memorial Stadium. Then over in the 5A ranks, Victoria East and West are both in the playoffs, and they're both playing at Wharton High School, with West playing first versus the Waltrip Brands at 5:30 p.m. and then East playing around 7:15, 7:30 range there at Memorial Stadium there in Wharton. Now over to men's soccer. We only got 4 teams in our area that are making the playoffs. And first in 4A with Bay City, Calhoun, and El Campo. Forced with Bay City, they're facing the Fort Bend Willow Ridge Eagles. That's going to be Friday night at 8 p.m. at Hopper Stadium, right after the girls' game, where they're going to be playing, like I said, at 6 p.m. El Campo, they're going to be facing the Stafford Spartans. They're at Bay City Memorial Stadium there at 7:15, 7:30 range tomorrow night after the girls' game as well. So Bay City girls and boys are playing on Friday night back-to-back, and then same for El Campo, the girls and boys as well. Then for Calhoun, they're facing Alameda Crawford at Crawford High School, and again at Rocheron, Texas, at 6 p.m. there tomorrow night. And then only Victoria West made it for the boys. They're going to be facing Spring Woods Tigers. That's Friday night at 6 p.m. there at Bay City Memorial Stadium. Now over to some basketball honors with the Tidehaven Tigerettes. Got some big, like I said, 2 players that made, again, the Texas Girls Association All-State team. First with Mary Johnson getting on there, and also Naomi Alameda. These 2 girls were crucial for success for the team. Congrats again to these 2 for getting these honors there for Tidehaven. There over to women's tennis, where Goliad High School hosted the Goliad Spring Varsity Tennis Invitational the past 2 days. There were a total of 11 schools that competed, and here are some of the results there with the girls Goliad team specifically. First, the girls doubles. First place, Trinity Henderson and Maven Wunsch. Girls singles action. Second place there to Madison Williams. The boys doubles, so they got in 4th place with Noah Blevins and Keegan Kramer. And then the mixed doubles, 4th place was Colin Fisher and Carolyn Youngblood. Or some softball action from earlier today. The Houtsville Lady Bremas faced the Industrial Cobras. And again, the Cobras got a big-time win there versus the Houtsville, 6-3. Industrial will be back in action next Tuesday night at Palacios High School. As for Houtsville, they're going to be back home there next Tuesday night versus Tidehaven in that one. And tomorrow, we begin the brackets because, again, March Madness will now be from 68 to 64 tomorrow night. But before that, though, we want you to take part and play along in our Final Four Frenzy contest on www.crossroadstoday.com/entertainment/Final Four Frenzy. You have until Thursday at 11 a.m. as, again, we're finishing the last game up, which will give you an update in just a minute. But before that, though, submit your picks in. Winner gets a family 4-pack to Moody Gardens, which includes the aquarium, rainforest, pyramids, 40 audience recognition theaters, 1-night hotel stay, and 2 rounds of golf. And I just mentioned there a minute ago about, again, one of the last games that are in. It was Xavier and Texas. And Don, I'm going to get it over to you. What is the final score? Are Texas fans going to be happy here tonight, or are they going to feel kind of sad going into that they're not going to get into the dance?
For you nice folks who put the Texas Longhorns in your Final Four Frenzy, final score Xavier 86, Texas Longhorns 80.
Womp womp.
Yeah, it's still a nice trip to Galveston, really. We've been there, we've done that, so it's really nice. All right, and don't forget Houston Cougars, number 1 seed, play at 1 o'clock tomorrow. And stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, we'll take a last look at your weather. Plus, statistics may uncover March Madness upsets. See how some university professors are crunching the numbers to find out.
Watch tonight or I'm canceling our couples massage. Are you sick of talking about Gilmore Girls, or Gil Girls as I call it?
Patients at Maynard Children's Hospital in Greenville, North Carolina got to unleash their inner food fight champions with a Jell-O toss. In this annual event, hospital team members bravely volunteer as human targets while pediatric patients launch wobbly, colorful Jell-O at them. It's all in good fun, giving kids a chance to de-stress, enjoy the fresh air, and connect with their caregivers in the most entertaining way possible. I think that probably is. The messy tradition happens during Child Life Month, celebrating child life specialists and the incredible work they do to support young patients.
It's time for March Nerdness. Math professors at Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina are digging into data to try to figure out which teams will beat the odds during March Madness. The professors are using analytics to predict how likely it is that a lower-seeded team can pull off an upset. They do that by looking at certain matchup characteristics of both underdog teams and historical favorite teams, among other factors. The professors predict upsets only for games where the teams are seeded at least 5 apart, such as an 11 seed versus a 6 seed or greater. Good luck to those people.
Or you could ask Don, you know, I mean, he'll tell you.
You can ask Don or you can ask me.
See, like
you know what I'm saying? I was going to say.
Well, see, like in the game tonight, Texas versus Xavier, they were both 11 seeds. You know, they were both seeded 11, so you couldn't really use that.
But getting to the way you were
point.
saying, though, Don, if you want to get those upsets, though, I'd recommend the 11 seeds or the 12 seeds. That's what I'm going to say overall. So if you want to pick them, go the 11 seeds or the 12 seeds for those people, too.
You have till 11 o'clock tomorrow
And 11 o'clock
morning.
tomorrow.
Let me call my bookie. Hold on.
And while we talk about that, we can also talk about the weather. We can also talk about the fact that the Sarco fire is still going on at last check in Goliad County. 200 acres, 40% contained at last.
It's 10 miles south of Goliad along 77. Do be careful if you're in that area. And if you are in that area, let us know. I mean, we're having a tough time getting information. So that's in Sarco in Goliad County. Now, for you and me, we're looking for a beautiful day tomorrow. Lots of sunshine, cooler temperatures, only topping out about 74. But it's that low humidity that gives us the problem. So let's all continue to be very cautious with anything that looks like flame.
Right. Well, winter's grip has finally loosened and longer, sunnier days are on the way. Tomorrow is the first official day of spring. Don't pay attention to what the weather's been saying. The first official day of the season represents the vernal equinox in the northern hemisphere. That's when the sun aligns with the Earth's equator. While some regions may still see a late season chill, the promise of blooming gardens, outdoor adventures, and patio season is finally here. We can celebrate with a picnic, a stroll through the park, or just crack open a window and enjoy that fresh air blowing in.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good in pictures.
Well, thanks for joining us.
125 News Now Sunrise, 5 a.m. Jimmy Kimmel Live starts now.